Have you been a monk?
This is, I think, third time I'm getting this question. I'm a filmmaker by profession. Everything goes wrong for him, and he doesn't even have the intelligence to study Dharma.
I'm very happy that you would be with us for this conversation with Thukten Yeshi. Are you ready? We'll talk about karma, sunyata, emptiness, or voidness, and tantra on the tantra vehicle. This is where we're going with this. Nothing is as it appears. Everything, in other words, is an illusion. Not that it doesn't exist, rather that it doesn't have an inherent existence of itself. The central tenet of Buddhism. Thukten Yeshi. He's an inspiring artist, filmmaker, and writer. The Monk Without Dhamma was initially prepared as a commercial fiction, and eventually it got published as a book. It not only takes us into olden day Bhutan, it also navigates essential Buddha's teachings. The concept of emptiness or voidness is central to understanding the print and the imprint in life, in the sense that all phenomena lack inherent existence or inherent nature. Everything in the world is empty of a fixed or independent self or an essence. So sunyata suggests that nothing exists in isolation, but rather in relation to everything else. And our perceptions and our experiences are constantly changing and interdependent. So the Dhamma revolves around these concepts and the notion of the absence of an inherent self, which is also called anatta in Pali, is central to understanding not only the complexities of the mind, as well as the power or the strength or the lens that the mind puts into interpreting reality. So when we embrace this concept, we can lead to a deeper understanding of the nature of reality, and it helps us let go of attachments and misconceptions. Through that, it also encourages us to see the world, the reality, and ourselves as part of a bigger picture, constantly evolving and interconnected with other beings and elements in the universe. That also connects us to the notion of karma, the way we put our own causes and effect in our life, this life that we're living right now, the past ones, and putting the seed for the next one, provided that we connect to that idea that there's a past life and a future life. All right, so that's the premise, of course, for karma. Understanding that karma is not a fatality, but it's something that it constantly evolves as well. It's every moment is an expression of the karma as well as a potentiality for transforming it. One has to start from the very beginning, is how our mind functions. And to understand nothing as it appears is related to the working of karma. Try for a moment to sit down and check how you see everything that is in front of you. So there's this non-duality perception that starts to emerge little by little. And within non-duality, we can start elaborating of a number of other concepts. Plot of the novel explores the workings of karma, and this exploration provides a narrative where the protagonist gets stuck into the basics of traditional Dhamma studies, but later discovers a way to turn this situation a unique condition that enables him to break through the walls of Tantra. The narrative into this novel invites the reader into an enchanting and mystical world of the Himalayan Tantric Buddhism. The path of Tantra is central to the school of Vajrayana Buddhism. And Vajrayana Buddhism is said to be sort of the third vehicle, as it is expressed in the Himalayas, in particular in Bhutan. When the teachings of the Buddha were expounded, it started in India. When the Buddha passed away, there were emissaries and then there were other scholars. Buddha's teachings evolved when traveled to Tibet, where it arrived on the 8th century, and then traveled to China and then eventually to Japan. That's the Mahayana branch. When it continued to travel instead in the Himalayas, it traveled through Padmasambhava or Guru Rinpoche from India into Tibet and then traveled all the way to the Himalayas and arrived in Bhutan. And that's the Vajrayana path. Eventually, Dhamma is an ocean. Dhamma is abundance of teachings and everyone can enter from its own point of view. Thukten Yeshi will present the story and the process as to how the movie became a book. I hope it inspires you as much as it inspired me to read the book with genuine interest and, as he said as well, an adventure with a Dhamma background. I hope you like it. Welcome to the podcast with Thukten Yeshi. Welcome to Dhamma on the Sidewalk, insights, interviews, and practical tips on the teachings of the Buddha for people of all walks of life, attuning, exploring, integrating the teachings in everyday life. Simple Dhamma for daily life. I'm Asoka, hosting Dhamma Capsule for people like you.
Thimphu is pleasant just now. I think I should say, like the best time of the year. Very pleasant, except when it rains hard.
I'd like to come back one day. I would like you to introduce yourself and also to introduce this book, how you came about this, and a bit, for general purpose for everyone.
Okay.
Have you been a monk?
This is, I think, this is the third time I'm getting this question. No, actually, I have never been a monk. Of course, like born and brought up in Bhutan. Buddhism is a way of life for us, so we are into Buddhism. Like from the very young age, you live it. But when it comes to practice, as in the practice done by monk, that's entirely a different thing. Like I went to modern school where our own language was taught very less compared to the modern education, all taught in English. So except for the the life that we live, as a born Buddhist, doing all the doing all the how do you call it now? Offering.
Yes, all the offering and the devotion. Yeah.
And going to the monastery, then getting blessed by lamas, rinpoches.
Right.
So other than that, when it comes to the philosophy of Dharma or Dharma teaching, I think majority of us are very nil. That way, I thought, Westerners were ahead of us when it comes to understanding Dharma, like in the real sense. So when I started this book, initially my only thought was, I wanted to. This started as a feature film story for an international market. I'm a filmmaker by profession. So this started as a film project. I wanted to do a unique Vajrayana Buddhist film for international market. But I didn't know what kind of story it would be. I just wanted to do something unique, that could sell globally. So, but I had no idea of any sort. Then, based on that, I started, listing down the parameters of my story. I said the concept will have to be very unique, and something enchanting, mystical, even for modern day Bhutanese. Because even though the outsiders might think that we are so locked up in the Himalayas, that we are so much into culture, but the modern day Bhutanese are also so we might live our own culture, but in terms of understanding, and also how things happened in the past, that aspect was there. Then the second thing I said was in terms of concept, it has to be unique. Then the second thing was, it should not be an ordinary story, a simple, ordinary, straightforward story that you normally hear. Instead, I said it has to be, something deep, something complex,
So you wanted the plot to be something special, right?
Yeah. So concept will have to be unique. The story should not be, story should not be simple, straightforward, a traditional story, but something in-depth, complex, that is cleverly devised. So then third thing I said, when it comes to Dharma, the subject of Dharma should not be that straightforward textbook teaching.
Yeah.
And also I said that, again, the Dharma concept should, even at that higher level, it should not be just, talked about by characters, merely inserted into the story as a discussion between characters. But I said it has to be part of the character development. This Dharma concept will have to be woven into the story. So I had the 3 parameters. Then based on that, then I started, working on my concept, how we normally do story, saying what is your premise, now what is your log line, what should be the spark of the story. So working on and on, I came with this concept, where I wanted to pit 2 different young men. One who is extraordinarily bright, who will go on to become a Dharma prodigy. On the other hand, there is this person who has nothing. He is an orphan, born to a tenant farmer family. Yeah. Everything goes wrong for him, and he doesn't even have the intelligence to study Dharma. He can never get past, basic teachings of Dharma. So from that story concept, what I got, the central question from there was, okay, of these 2, who would go on to transcend the traditional study and practice of Dharma and embark on the secret path of Tantra? Then I had the framework. Then from there, when I looked at it, obviously my protagonist was the person, the person of bad karma. So looking at him, for him to transcend from the ordinary practice of Dharma to the secret path of Tantra, the story was going in a direction, something like, a journey without path. So I had that premise, that theme to go on. But then, it was a big challenge, how does this story happen?
Where did you write it? Were you still in Australia when you wrote it?
When I was in Australia, I was thinking about so many stories that I wanted to do for international market. So this was one of them. Actually, along with this, I plotted, I think, 6 or 7 other stories. So, each story different from the other. Maybe I think 3 were on Dharma, 1 on virtue, then 3 other stories completely, at epic level, love, war,
yes,
warrior, all this kind of elements, but from Buddhist perspective. Vajrayana, Buddhist stories happening in the Himalayas.
Yes.
So this was one of them.
And how did you come from a movie into a book? Because you are a filmmaker, and I understand that it was prepared to be a movie, and then it became a book, which I think eventually, why not? So how is it going with the book then? And then you came back to Thimphu, and then now it's a book.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Australia, I had developed all this, all this concept. Then coming back to Bhutan, I came back in 2011. I think it was then, I was right on time because His Majesty the King had commanded the government and the film industry to, do something about the industry because the film industry was stagnating and dying.
Yes.
So His Majesty said that, we had his support. You do what you want to do. But then there was no one who had studied film, So then I had just come back. I also had the experiences of doing consultancy work. So then I led the film sector development for Bhutan. On behalf of the film industry and the royal government of Bhutan.
Yes.
So I was doing all those works, drafting the national policy for film. Side by side, I was, then working on my stories. So the first story that I did was, it's something, it's set in 1960s called The Kingdom in a Cocoon. So that one was written down into a screenplay, then sent it to Europe, to Brussels, to a screenwriting company to evaluate it. So they evaluated it, then gave me feedback. I rewrote it again a couple of times. Then I submitted to Fox Studio and Warner Brothers, because I happened to meet the 2 vice presidents in Sydney. So they said anything they could do to help. They said they would help me. So I sent that screenplay to these 2 companies. They evaluated it and advised me, saying that because you don't have a local market, we cannot invest, because when they invest, it is big amount. Mm-hmm. The production scale will be very big, and because mainstream film from Bhutan has not gone to international market, they were not sure how the global audiences would receive it. Mm-hmm. So their advice was for me to try and expand into novels and see how it would be received. So I, of course, I didn't want to, write it into novels. So then I worked on my second story, The Monk Without Dharma. So I developed it into screenplay. I think it was completed, rewritten a couple of times. Then I realized, I'm not going to get any funding from big international studios. Why not expand it into a novel? So then I started writing it into a novel.
And now the novel is being published, and currently is being distributed in the international market, I think you said on Amazon, and then also in South Asia. And how is it going? How are the sales going for the book?
Oh, the book through the international distribution through Amazon. Then there is another big international platform called Ingram Spark.
Yes.
So through that distribution, it is available globally, but the sail has not been able to, pick up. And the experts, the publishing team who helped me, their advice to me was, no matter how good your book is, unless and until you are able to do a big promotion, because I'm an unknown writer, so it will be very difficult for the sale to pick up. This is exactly what is happening.
You need to do your own promotion, and the more active, the better. It seems that you are quite active on that already, right?
Yes, for Bhutan through Facebook, for the Bhutanese community, and also, outside Bhutan, for those following the Himalayan Vajrayana Buddhism. So I'm trying to promote here and there, and to some extent it has been successful. Many outside Bhutan are interested in the book, and some have even bought it. And the feedback they sent me is wonderful. I did not receive even one negative feedback till now.
I would like to know if it's, first of all, if it's a work, entirely a work of fiction, or if you have been inspired by any of the great masters, or any of the life or experiences that you may have, or any great masters from Bhutan or the region. And if it's not a work, if it is a work of fiction, if you can reveal a few aspect of it, that would be really nice.
So this is entirely a work of fiction, but then of course so many things, the elements in the stories, because I have heard so many stories as a child, and also living here, you hear so many,
Yes, it's very
stories
rich.
about Buddhist
Yes.
masters. So all this could have contributed, for this story to come to this level.
And can you reveal a bit about the plot?
Yes, actually, like I said earlier, it's about two young men, polar opposites in disposition and character, but they are destined to cross paths. They pursue the path of Dharma. One is of good karma. He is the scion of nobility with a brilliant mind. The other is of bad karma, an orphan without anyone or anything, fated to suffer and fail. Now, the central question from here is, which of these two very different young men would transcend the traditional study of Dharma and unveil the esoteric secrets of Tantra, or Dzogchen Chenpo, as we call it?
Yeah.
In a world where Dharma is the only path, one is revealed to be a prodigy, while the other cannot even grasp the basic teachings of Dharma. But as they traverse it further, they find appearances deceptive and reality elusive, challenging even the notion and the essence of Dharma itself.
Really?
Then nothing is as it seems. Nothing is even as it is. One karma is only a precursor to the other, weaving a complex tapestry of faith and discovery. So, from the ordinary to the extraordinary, into the secret world of Dzogchen.
Wow. And they travel in Bhutan. Where is it set?
So this story is set in Bhutan and across the Himalayas, sometime in the 18th century.
Okay.
In the olden days, yeah. So then Bhutan was known as Drukyul. I think Sikkim was known as Denjong, and Nepal used to be referred to as Belyul.
Yes.
So the protagonist would travel, lifetime pilgrimage from Drukyul to Denjong, the kingdom of Denjong, then to Belyul, then to kingdom of Ladakh, then finally up to Tibet, then known as Bodh.
Now you're really are tickling my aspiration to read to read the book. The more you talk about it, in terms of Dhamma, Bhutan is very rich. it's really the country that is completely impregnated with Dhamma from everywhere, from the trees, from the practices, from everything, the landscape, the landmarks, the way of life, even the governance is really imbued with Dharma. How did you manage to weave this into the story? Because it's enormous. You had to choose some aspect of the Vajrayana. You can't touch base on all the arms of Vajrayana. It's enormous. So did you choose a master in particular, or did you just put the things together?
It was a very ambitious project. When I started as a film screenplay, it was at a surface level. Then when I started expanding into a novel and I had the room to include everything, then I became ambitious. The depth that I was going for, the philosophy, the level, was too hard for a lay practitioner. Layman like me, not a practitioner.
Yeah.
So I really had to do a lot of researches, but the problem with Buddhist philosophy is even if you read, it's difficult to understand.
Yes.
So, and I was tackling Dharma concepts at the level of Tantra. So it was really difficult, and the people here in Bhutan, the masters, all the Buddhist masters, none of them can speak English. And even when they explain to us, because I think the terminology is all tricky, I could not understand. So there was this big problem. So I had to read through, then develop piece by piece. And it took very long time, almost 4 or 5 years, but got it done finally. So there was a sense of satisfaction, as well as a feeling of good that I did something. I also learned quite a lot.
So this book now being on the international market is not only going to attract people who are familiar with Bhutan, but also maybe people who would, or familiar with Bhutan and the Dhamma and Vajrayana in particular, but maybe also people who know, I would say,
knowledge.
Yeah, no knowledge, and they might just get some hints about the richness and the depth of the Dhamma. So is it too esoteric, or is it very easy, reader friendly for someone who doesn't know anything about Dhamma?
Is it? Yes, it is. Yeah. It is very reader friendly, and I would say, I took utmost care that everything is explained without really obstructing storytelling. So that was another reason why crafting this book was difficult and took a long time. So I had to, for example, tendril. The word tendril appears, it's a big component in the story. So even before, the use of tendril was required. So it was explained in the beginning, woven into the narrative. So in bits and pieces, all these new elements which the Western or foreign readers would not understand are woven and explained, without making it bulky, without
yes. Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. So can you give some ideas of the type of feedback that you have received? I'm becoming even more curious now.
The feedbacks are all wonderful. I didn't expect to receive feedback like this, even from foreign readers, America. I think one, I think he was a sort of a Buddhist practitioner in America. He said his rating was 10 out of 10. And he went on to say that it was a beautiful gift to the world from a country blessed by many masters. I was so touched, and I also received other feedbacks in the similar lines from outside. Then when it comes to Bhutan, I was, so amazed, because we have this myth in Bhutan saying that Bhutanese people didn't, don't read books. So I was not really expecting to sell, many copies. Yes. But then, the messages that I got, from people asking for the book, when the shipment came, there was this huge rush, everyone came, took took their copies. Yeah. Then some had read within, within a few days, and the feedback they gave were, very touching. Some even went on to say that, thank you for writing this book. They really loved it, and they saying, as a Bhutanese, never read anything Bhutanese like this, anything even remotely Himalayan like this, about our own culture, about our own religion, and my inbox was flooded with messages like this. So I was thought, I was touched, and I also thought, my aspiration prayer that I had always, even though when I started this project, it started as a work, to earn my livelihood. Yes, but after I had started it, I always, because since it was Dharma, I always made this aspiration prayer that it may help people, in its own modest way to understand a bit of Dharma,
and a bit about Bhutan. Yeah. That's so. Do you know? Have you heard if any teachers or monks or Rinpoche that got hold of a copy of the book?
I received, so many requests from monks, but I think many of them are outside. I could not deliver, but a few here, one, I think only a few days, 2 days back, I went to drop it to him personally.
In Bhutan, there is a Rinpoche who is a filmmaker as well.
Yes, Jamin Khyentse Rinpoche. Yes, of course I do.
Yeah. Have you been in contact with him about this? Or, I mean, he's a filmmaker, and we are talking about a book. But initially the idea was to have a feature movie, a movie about this. So
when I started writing this book, I was, I think,
inspired by him.
Yeah, I was 6 months into writing it and completed, I think, two on my third draft. Mm-hmm. And then I had an offer from HarperCollins India to publish it. So I didn't want to sign with them before, meeting and asking Rinpoche. Then I think it was in 2019. Uh-huh. So Rinpoche was in retreat in Paro, a very strict retreat.
Yes.
So me and a friend went there with the draft, but we couldn't even get admitted because it was a strict retreat.
Yes.
But what we did was we handed the manuscript to an attendant. Then when Rinpoche, came out of the retreat, I think after 6 months, then Rinpoche was busy. I tried to reach to him through one former colleague from BBS. I reached Rinpoche. Rinpoche asked for, additional materials like log line, what was the premise. So I also submitted those, but I think Rinpoche was too busy to go through the draft. So I did not receive any response.
It's quite interesting how there are these artists and everyone bringing not just bringing Bhutan out of the Himalaya in a way, and culturally being a sort of ambassador of Bhutan culture, but also obviously bringing the Dhamma out of the Himalayas by connecting Bhutan with the Dhamma. And there are so many artists. They, as you also are aware, at the same time that your book came out with the monk without Dhamma, there also is this movie, The Monk with the Gun. You heard about that, right?
Oh, yeah, yes, I
Yeah.
heard
So
about
there is quite an interesting thread of not just filmmakers but cultural ambassadors of Bhutan, who in their own way have always bringing Bhutan out on the international market with a touch of Dhamma, always. And so the monk with a gun, and then now the monk without Dhamma, and then also some of the many other aspects of Bhutanese culture that are coming out. So it's quite inspiring to see all of this. So I wish for you that you have other projects in your pocket, in your folder regarding this, because it's very good in terms of leadership, and it's very good in terms of maintaining the culture of Bhutan intact, and at the same time letting it out of the box a bit and out of the Himalayas, so that people can know a bit more about the remote kingdom, but who's not
Yes.
is not that remote anymore, actually.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So do you have other projects going in the same direction?
Oh, yes, like I said, I have developed, unique, original, Vajrayana Buddhist stories. I mean, like different kinds. For instance, one is titled The Wind Horse Rider.
Uh-huh.
It's about a warrior, then another is titled The Lovers for 500 Lifetimes.
Uh-huh.
Both of these are epics. Then the other one I said was, The Kingdom in the Cocoon. This is set in 1960s, when Bhutan is about to come out of its isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have another one called the Jitar Katsalpat, the command of my root teacher.
Oh, yes.
Something like,
Nice.
Then I have another one called the Sangamos Path, about the virtue, about virtue, who has it, the upright nobleman scholar or the prostitute. So yes, I have 6 or 7 stories like this.
And it's good. Is there in Bhutan a structure, a support for young artists and for culture, for the production of material that sort of promotes Bhutan and the Dhamma? Do you have the support of some structure for that?
Unfortunately, I would say no.
We have,
I guess we are a poor country, we cannot allocate much beyond, health, education, infrastructure into arts. Of course, there are bits and pieces supporting the film industry, or, then this literature and arts festival being organized. I think beyond that, nothing much. And for this book, the time that I spent writing screenplay, then expanding into novel, I think it's over 5 years of work. And obviously I needed some help, to commit to writing fully. You need money to sustain and also support your family. So because we don't have any sort of support, I had nowhere to turn to but to struggle.
Yes.
Struggle on my own, and fortunately I was able to complete. My wife was understanding, she supported me. So yeah,
that's important. And I usually leave the last words to my guest. And my question is there anything that you haven't had a chance to share and that we haven't spoken about and that you would like to add before we close? Is there anything you want to share regarding your piece of art and whatever your aspiration or anything?
I think we pretty much covered, like from writing to, the difficulty, the challenges of publishing. So I think we pretty much covered everything. Unless, of course, if you have anything else.
Where is your book available in bookshops, and how is it possible to get it on the internet if not in the workshop? Would you like to share that with us, please?
In Europe, I think in all the developed countries, you can buy it from Amazon. Yeah. And also through Ingram Spark, many outlets are selling. For example, in India, also but it's quite expensive for India and South Asia. They have couple of outlets directly acquiring from Ingram Spark and selling at $20 equivalent in rupees, about 1,700.
No, 1,700.
Yeah, but for those in Europe, America, Canada, I think the easiest would be to buy from Amazon.
And it's available on Kindle. Yeah, is it available on Kindle format as well?
Ebook. It was there. Then we took it off the platform because of the design issue. There was something wrong with the design, so we took it off. And I have been too busy to begin work with the designer.
Okay, all right. And it's available in Bhutan, of course, in bookshops.
Yes.
And it's available in the Himalayas, in bookshops and online.
In the Himalayas, not yet. The one Indian distributor is going to distribute, I think, sometime in end of August or September side.
Right. In the US, it's available, and in Australia, it's available.
Yes, good. Australia.
Good.
Then Europe, Japan.
So, Thukten, it's been really wonderful to have you. I would like to thank you really for your time, and also as a Buddhist practitioner, I feel a lot of connection with Bhutan, of course, but also with the fact that you're bringing out on the market, you're bringing out a product that is a novel and that is inspired by Dhamma and that is set in Bhutan and in the Himalayas. So definitely, from my perspective, you're ticking a lot of boxes. And but I think in general, for what I am interested in as the host of the podcast called Dhamma on the Sidewalk, is that bringing Dhamma down to a level that respects the richness of Dhamma, but at the same time is making it available to many and in simple terms. So in that sense, I'm really very grateful to your work.
Thank you, Asoka. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. It really is an honor for me to be featured on it.
And I wish you really well. And maybe what we could do is that once I'm back in the Himalayas, maybe we can, we'll be closer in terms of time zone. Maybe we can have another chat and we can have an update. And I really would like to be kept in contact with what is it that which direction you're going with all your very great ideas and your aspirations. Take very good. How do you say Kususampola? How do you say thank you? Kadrinchele.
Yeah. Kadrinchela.
And have a very nice day and talk to you very soon.
Okay, you too, Asoka. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Take
Thank
good
you.
care. Take good care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.